Hi, I'm Joey Pinz. People ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? The quick answer is always discipline. I started my business, wasn't paying attention to my health, was eating too much, drinking too much sweets. My daughter was born. Next thing I know, I'm pre-diabetic, I have hypertension. I knew something had to change. Discipline. I, like many of you, have faced many challenges in your career, in your family, in your life, in your faith. How did you attack them? How did you approach them? How did you solve them, hopefully? It all had to have some degree of discipline. I'm also asked, how did you found and start a tech business that lasted over 25 years? Discipline. I was committed to it, enjoyed technology, didn't enjoy some aspects of it, but knew it was necessary. Discipline. Our podcast mission: how do we use discipline to better ourselves and society? Join me, please, as I talk to interesting people and discuss how they use discipline in their family, in their passion, in their careers, and how it helped them. Our podcast vision: growth through learning from others. Joey Pinz Disciple Conversations. It'll be light and serious. Join us, please. Thank you for consideration. Thanks for being here, Chris. It's nice to meet you.
Good to meet you as well.
What's attractive about MSPs to you?
Yeah, I think it boils down to just a couple of things. First is the services that they provide are, in essence, mission critical. I think we saw it during the course of the pandemic, especially in those early days, the need to have technology that was up and running and able to run and operate regardless of where you're located. Kind of that criticality that sat in the background became very, very much at the forefront. I think a second piece of it is, the way in which the agreements and structures are set up. It's a recurring revenue model where you've got the same amount of dollars coming in the door month in, month out over, hopefully at minimum a year term, but many MSPs have multiple year agreements in place. And I think the third piece that's somewhat related to the first one is that, whether the economy is up or down, there's a stability of the need for these services, and also it's just becoming increasingly complex, and the requirements of businesses is going up and up, and it's to a point where they need to stay focused on whatever industry they're in and need a provider that can help keep them safe, help keep their systems and tools up and running and operational, and I think there's just that undercurrent of requirement that is there with MSPs.
What don't you like working with? What's the good part? What's the bad?
Look, I think.
Let's say they're bad. Dislike.
No, I don't know if I'd say anything is necessarily to dislike. I think it's just there's an acknowledgement or a realization that as much as we talk about the technology as being a critical element of the service that MSPs are delivering, it is still a service business, meaning that there is a huge human element that is involved. And so, if you're running an MSP, your labor costs are, the largest piece of your expense, and your need to keep, retain, grow, develop talent is incredibly important. And so it's not just about trying to serve your clients to your utmost ability, but also do it in such a way that you can foster the progression of the staff that you have as part of your team and keep them so that you're not continually churning, because there is that measure of relationship that can be established between client and your service technicians, or your technical talent. And if you're continually rotating through folks, that doesn't always land particularly well with your client base.
So that the human capital can raise some eyes. It can be an issue.
Well, yeah, it's just something you always need to keep at the forefront of your mind. You can't just wow clients with the technology only. You need to be able to have that human connection as a core part of a relationship that you have with your clients, and so that means you need to do well by your team, and I think if you are able to do that over the long term, I think you'll see the rewards from that, both in your staff staying, that good team retention, but then also that can also reflect with your client retention. as well, because they're having a good experience with someone who's generally very knowledgeable and capable in what they're doing, but then also doing it with that quote service with a smile.
So you're with Entiva, big acquisitions. Congratulations to the Purple Guys. How many acquisitions have you been part of there?
Yeah, so I've been fortunate enough to be part of 7 acquisitions that we've done since I joined Entiva. Overall, we've done 15 over the last 8 years.
Wow.
And as we've done so, we've been able to expand our geographic presence from a single market in the DC area to now upwards of 10 across the US.
And so we're talking about managed service providers here. So you've been there. Entiva's done about 15, and so they've expanded in about 10 markets.
Mm-hmm.
And you're still looking to grow in those markets for MSPs, and you're looking to expand in others.
Correct.
All in the lower 48 states.
Yeah, that's the current focus right now. We think it's tremendously important to be and have a significant presence in the markets in which we operate. But we also have a desire to grow across the board, across nationally. I think there's plenty of runway to be able to expand nationally, but I think the critical piece to think about is that there is a local element that is tremendously important to success as an MSP. So even if we are expanding geographically broadly, being able to reinforce and demonstrate those local ties and that community presence is tremendously important.
What should MSPs be doing to be more attractive to buyers like yourself?
Yeah, I mean, there's any number of things that you can start with, but I think it boils down to being able to run a business that is expressing a competitive advantage versus others, and that usually reflects in that client retention that I've talked about before, that employee retention, that growth that you're able to show, and I think that also just reflects in a high degree of operational maturity within the business. So you've got the systems and processes and procedures and tools to run a business so that you're not feeling as though you're constantly having to scramble as you run your business. There's going to be enough scrambling going on because there's something that's going to come up with clients that you need to be able to address. But if you've got kind of the day-to-day, the operation of your business, the undercurrent going well, then that gives you that brain space to focus in on serving your clients, which is ultimately where you derive your success at the end of the day.
As far as an MSP, when is the wrong and the right time to start having these conversations and considerations with someone like yourself?
I think it's never too early to start thinking about it. There's someone who has said often to me that 100% of MSPs will transact at some point in their life. Do you want to do it while you are horizontal, or do you want to do it while you're vertical? It's Arlen Sorensen. Exactly. You've heard this before. So yeah, and I think that adage holds very true. And because it's a business, you can make changes and subtle things on from one day to the next, but in order to make a substantive change in your business, that can't happen overnight. And so you need to be able to plan out these things and make business adjustments in such a way that when you do reach the point in time where you feel like the value of the business is achieving that threshold or that goal that you have set, then you're at hopefully that right point in time to sell. You never want to find yourself in a position where you're in a fire sale. Like you've got to sell because things are going poorly. You're not going to get the value for the business that you deserve in a situation like that. But then there's also plenty of things that you can work on to improve your business, things that I've talked about earlier in our conversation here that can help improve the value of your business. And those things take time to implement. And so if you can focus on those things over a period of time, it's going to help you achieve those goals that you have for yourself financially, structurally, post-transaction role for yourself, any number of things to play out. But you also need to be thinking about what those goals are well in advance of you being able to realize them, so that you can map out your journey to achieve them. And get educated, speak to folks, listen to panels, speak to folks. Exactly. Yeah, speak to folks who have gone through it before, and that will help.
Yeah.
I think we talked
with Amanda
a
Bowman.
little bit. We got an announcement here. I'll give
This
it
session
a
will be
moment.
taking place in the Lions Den. And then in the Solutions Pavilion, we have Smart Security, boosting MSP growth and efficiency through attack surface management.
Pause for a break.
Let's make our way back into the sessions.
I sat with you at lunch, and I've heard this phenomenon. I've talked to other people similar, and you know, you have to go through due diligence with the MSP, and they have to have their ducks in a row, financials, etc.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's where the MSP just kind of lets go. They say, okay, we're going to sell, and they remove their foot from the gas, and then they have such a poor quarter that when it's time to actually sign, you had such a bad quarter, we're going to have to revisit. We can't do this now.
Yeah.
It's obviously not a good thing to happen.
Yeah, I mean, another way to think about it is if you yourself or your kids are coming through high school and they've got senioritis at the end of senior year, and you kind of you take your eye off the ball a bit because you see what's happening on the other side. At the end of the summer, you're going to college. Well, in a worst case, if you do such a poor job, the school could rescind your offer.
Right.
By the same token, with an MSP, you've got to continue to run and grow your business and kind of stay on top of it, because if not, that buyer may walk away. They don't want to be buying a sinking ship. That's not what they're interested in acquiring. That's not what they're looking to invest in. And so if you can stay focused through it, that's important. And the way to do that is by being prepared. With handling and knowing answers to the questions we talked about a moment ago, but then also having all that information available that you're collecting on a monthly basis, so that if someone does come calling, you're ready to handle that kind of inquiry.
We're here at Lion Guard RoarCon. We're literally on the 20-yard line of the Dallas Cowboys in one of their many fields here. This is interior one, and it's air conditioned. I think you said it's like 14,000 seats in here?
Yeah, just in the practice facility here.
Just the practice, like 8 high schools play here, and it's a great event. What's your takeaway? What's your goal to coming to an event like this?
Yeah, the most enjoyable part of coming to events like this, and the thing where I, when I'm flying back home, I'll think, this is worthwhile, is the chance to have met and interacted with interesting people, potentially interesting MSPs that maybe want to become part of the Antiva story. But there's just an opportunity to provide education and awareness within the community, because M&A is what I do day in and day out. The folks here are phenomenally good at running their MSP, but they don't know as much about M&A. And so if I can help provide a little bit of education or thought or a think about preparation that helps, that rising tide that lifts all boats, I think that's a phenomenal way to have spent my time. M&A is so pervasive in our industry that you're going to come across it at some point at the end of the day, whether it's your clients getting themselves acquired so you lose a business, or colleagues in your peer group are getting acquired, or they themselves are looking to buy businesses, or obviously then you yourself are being potentially approached. If you can have just a little bit more information at your fingertips to help you make a better decision, then that's time well spent for me.
I was talking to the founders here at Lion Guard, Vin and Joe, and they made a mature decision at one point to kind of step aside and bring in a CEO. I always say that the Google founders never get credit for that. Sergey and Brin at one point said they brought in Schmidt there, and he took over. And I think Facebook should have done that a long time ago. We can talk about that if you'd like, and Microsoft. But a lot of MSPs, I don't know the percentages, this is a hunch, I'm a former MSP, and I think the owner lots of times gets in the way of growth. Yeah.
And I think that happens more frequently than folks would be willing to admit. And I think it can fall into stark relief when you start to think about transitioning for your business or selling your business, because your ability to get yourself out of the day-to-day can actually give you more opportunities when it comes time to transition your business, because you're not as critical to client relationships, to new logo sales, to closing the books on a monthly basis, to handling the highest escalation service tickets. If you are in all of those different things, and yet you say, right at day one of closing a transaction, I'm ready to exit and retire, that buyer is probably not going to let you do that because you are so tied into the success and continued operation of the business. And so it's a little counterintuitive that in order to better prepare yourself for sale, you need to be less involved in the business, because that can give you the greatest opportunities for what to do afterwards. And I think it also reflects the operational maturity of the business, where you've got strong managers, strong leaders, day-to-day effectiveness and operation of your business, and you've got a bit of a step back from things. I think that is actually, it's counterintuitive to think about it, but it's actually a hallmark of maturity of the business, that you've got a capable team doing it. You're just providing maybe strategic direction or helping on the offhand instance. But if you can step away, if you can go on vacation without being worried that you're going to get a call in the middle of the night because someone can't handle something, then I think you can find yourself in a better spot and give you more options on what you might want to do when you're looking to sell your business.
So the ideal MSP just really has a great profitable business that doesn't rely completely on its owner. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think that is a measure of success. I mean, it may not be the case or work in 100% of the time, but from my experience, if you've got that little bit of professional maturity and operational maturity within the business, and the owner can focus on working on the business as opposed to working in the business, I think that can be tremendously valuable, just on the overall.
That's what I found with peer groups. You mentioned them before. I mean, when I first joined HTG, which eventually became Evolve, it just changed my whole life. I mean, here I'm sitting in a room now with 12 other companies that have the same problems I do.
Yeah.
And I could be away from the business and work on it. It was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, and those environments too also help reinforce the accountability to make what could be a difficult decision about your business as you're looking to improve an element. Invest in sales and marketing, or make a change in leadership, or invest in providing a new offering to your clients, and being able to bounce ideas off of the peer group. Someone's maybe a little bit ahead, and so they've done it, and they can offer advice back to the group to help you avoid some of their mistakes. I mean, it's tremendously valuable, and you can reciprocate and do the same thing for them. I think the other thing that's unique about this space is that regardless of size of organization, whether you're a $1 million revenue business or a $150 million revenue business, there is still value that can come from being involved in peer groups. You just have different problems that you're dealing with, but you're always having challenges that you need to face, and it's great to have a cohort of peers that you can speak with to help manage those sorts of things, or give you ideas on how to address and solve the situations that you're in.
So generally speaking, I believe this is the case. About 25% MSPs are losing money, about 50% are pretty much even, and then the top 25% are making money. Do you agree with that?
I'd say that's probably ballpark figures.
Ballpark.
You're getting some of that from the service leadership and yeah, exactly. I think that's generally the case.
So if you're in that bottom and you're losing money, is it still too early to talk to someone like yourself?
No, I think it's just, if you recognize that you're in that bottom tier, and hopefully you can understand that there are things that you need to work on in order to get yourself up even into that middle bucket.
Yep.
You're going to want time in order to do that, because if you try to sell now, you're going to get nowhere near the money that you're probably looking to receive for your business. Yeah.
And even like I see some friends of mine that are at the $2 or $3 million top line, maybe $4, and they merge P&Ls just to be more attractive to M&A. I see that. That's a trend that's happening.
It is. It's happening a fair amount, because on the general, the higher your EBITDA level, and that's the primary measuring stick from a valuation perspective, the higher EBITDA you have, which is kind of a proxy for cash flow.
Sure.
And profitability of your business, your higher EBITDA can translate into a higher multiple that you're able to enjoy. So you've got a higher EBITDA, and you're also multiplying it by a bigger number, means you're going to get a higher value overall. And so I think that's the play that folks are trying to do. I think it's coming to fruition because there are a lot of interested buyers out there that are not currently in the space, and so they're willing to potentially take on the challenge of buying two separate businesses. But and folks have a different view on this depending on how they see the importance or lack thereof of integration. But there is a school of thought that says that if you are a cohesive, fully integrated business, that you should be able to command a premium in the value of your organization simply because that buyer is buying one business as opposed to two or more.
Right.
And so, they're more willing to pay up for that
Interesting.
convenience in a way.
So your message to MSPs as kind of a final note is?
It's never too early to start thinking about it. Talk to people who are a couple steps ahead of you in that thought process, and get yourself armed with the information, because this shouldn't be a situation where you are at an information disadvantage to someone out there who is a repeat buyer. There are plenty of avenues out there to learn and educate yourself, and time to make changes to your business to allow you to achieve your goals from a value perspective, an exit time horizon perspective, a growth and development pathway opportunities for your team, additional services and capabilities for your clients. All those sorts of things can be solved if you can find the right partner for your business. And so I'd also encourage folks to do some of your homework looking back to the buyer or looking up to the buyer. It doesn't have to be only a one-way street when you're going through the diligence process. You want to learn about the buyer because there are different types of buyers out there. As much as I would like to say that Intiva would be the phenomenal home for every potential seller out there, in reality, that's probably not the case.
Right.
We will certainly make our strong position that we want to be, a legacy-defining brand within the industry where people want to come be part of the story for us. We want to be that most attractive option, whether you're an employee or a client or a seller or a vendor. And we also want to provide that better than ordinary financial returns for all stakeholders to become part of the Intiva ecosystem. But that may not be the right answer for everyone out there. And I think that's the unique space within the MSP industry, that there is not only one path that you have to take when you're looking to transact or sell your business.
Well, Chris, CVC, thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I'm glad we got an opportunity to have lunch, and thanks for your time on the podcast today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Disciple Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypinz.com. There you'll find lots of resources, and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Disciple Conversations.